Hi, and welcome to your Urban Connection. And let me say this before I get started. First, folks, I want every one of you, each and every one of you, to have a happy Thanksgiving. Okay? A happy Thanksgiving. I just don't want you to eat too much turkey because I want to see you back here after the holiday. Right? So that's my pledge. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Now, I've got two brand new stories that I want to talk with you about today. And one of them involves a story, well, a channel that we did, a cable channel that we did on my last video, MSNBC. I said there was trouble in paradise. Well, since then, there's new information that reveals that MSNBC has even more troubles than I knew about. It was just released today that MSNBC, one of their hosts, the on-air host, received a campaign donation from Kamala Harris and Walz's campaign. Now, the donation was made in two parts. There were two $250,000 donations made to Al Sharpton's nonprofit, his nonprofit that he has, and that was just a couple of days before Kamala was interviewed on MSNBC by Reverend Al. Now, here's the problem with this, and it is a big problem because all of the employees at MSNBC are raising a big stink. Because you see, when an on-air personality is speaking and representing a channel, for him to either receive or give campaign donations to a candidate taints that channel's image and their reputation. So the problem is that Reverend Al, after receiving these two donations, never told anybody at MSNBC that he had received those donations. But it came out later in a campaign donation a file that the campaign had to file, and it listed $500,000 worth of donations that were made to not MSNBC, but to Al Sharpton. And then a couple days later, or a few days later, she shows up doing an interview with him. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't look good. That does not look good at all. Sharpton, while he is not a journalist, and I understand that, he is a host on that channel. And so when he goes in, he's representing not himself, he's representing MSNBC. And the professional journalists know that you do not accept campaign donations, nor do you give campaign donations while you're working at one of those stations. You just don't do it. See, that's called pay to play, ladies and gentlemen. And that's not the way it's supposed to go in television or radio or any public entity, because all of the other professionals at that channel now know that if MSNBC does not take some action, some punitive action here, then they're treating Reverend Al differently than they treat the rest of those professional employees. Because you see, in television, and I'm sure radio, you see the professionals, the on-air professionals, are not even allowed to accept a dinner from a candidate. Okay? You can't do that. That ruins the integrity and the credibility of not only that host, but that station. And in this particular case, MSNBC is now faced with, what do you do? And to be sure, let me tell you this. Keith Olbermann, who used to be with MSNBC, was suspended for making a donation to a candidate. Okay, now this was several years back because he hasn't been there for several years. But when he was there, he was suspended for making a donation. But let me just tell you, this donation stands out like a sore thumb because of the amount, $500,000. Ladies and gentlemen, does that indicate that Al Sharpton was for sale? It sure looks like it. And especially when he didn't bother to report either one of those $250,000 donations to upper management at MSNBC. Now, let me just tell you, when I tell you that there's trouble in paradise at MSNBC, you see, MSNBC since election day have lost half of their viewing audience. Okay? And as I reported to you last week, it started with Morning Joe and Mika Brzezinski, okay, went to have a secret meeting with Donald Trump and then came back and revealed it on the air. That's when the runaway train, okay, runaway from MSNBC started. This episode with Al Sharpton certainly is not going to help anything. But we're waiting to see now, and the employees over there at MSNBC are waiting to see just what action that MSNBC is going to take in regards to Al Sharpton being on the tape. All right, I'm sorry, I can't use it any other way. Being on the tape to the tune of $500,000. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, now, also, CNN, they're not in as much trouble as MSNBC, but they've lost about 40% of their audience since Election Day. Okay, now I don't know what the problem is over there, but cable news channels, look, let me just be honest with you. Cable news channels across the country, no matter which one it is, they're all losing viewers. Okay, cable news is about to become a thing of the past. The streaming services are basically taking over. All right, and that's what happened. And basically, the cable news does very little in the way of giving up-to-date news, unless it's maybe foreign policy. But basic news is found on podcasts just like this one, okay? And so cable news channels are fighting for life. As I reported to you last week, the owners of Comcast, the owners of MSNBC, are in the process of spinning off MSNBC, CNBC, and E, which is also owned by MSNBC. So, ladies and gentlemen, they heard it. Okay, now my second story. And first of all, let me, I was intended to show you who I was talking about here, because I'm sure most of you know who Al Sharpton is. So I shouldn't have to show you this, but just to show you, I want you all to know who I'm talking about here. This is Al Sharpton, and Al Sharpton has a program called Politics Nation, okay, every weekend on the MSNBC. So, but this is him right here. So, and like I said, most of you know who he is, but that's him. But he is going to have a lot of explaining to do as to why he accepted. And now, if he would have accepted this money as the leader or founder or CEO or whatever of his network, some action network, I can't remember. But anyhow, that would have been fine. But for him to accept that money and then have her on his show 2 days later, it looks very, very suspicious. So, like I said, he's going to have some explaining to do, okay? Because MSNBC is facing pressure from their other employees who are not allowed to accept anything anywhere near $500,000. Okay, they just don't do that. All right, now let me get to my second story. And this second story is a gentleman that is very well known, and you all will know him. And I want to put his picture up here. And this guy is known as a mega preacher. And most of you know him as TD Jakes. Now, TD Jakes, and this is brand new, this just happened today, just a few hours ago. TD Jakes has filed a lawsuit against a former preacher or minister, whatever you want to call him, who has claimed that TD Jakes groomed him and attempted to have sexual relations with him when he was 16 or 17. Now, this guy, I don't know exactly how old he is now, but this incident allegedly occurred several years ago. But as the story goes, TD Jakes was first, I don't know if this is a shakedown or attempted shakedown or what, but TD Jakes was approached by this gentleman, I believe, and was told that he wanted $6 million to, I guess, make this story go away or to keep his mouth shut. And he filed a lawsuit after TD Jakes refused. Well, then today, TD Jakes filed a counter lawsuit, now claiming that this guy was using social media, okay, and other public entities to embarrass him, okay, to ruin his reputation and otherwise. Now, here's the problem with this. And I'm not going to say it's a problem for TD Jakes because, first of all, defamation is kind of hard to prove. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's kind of hard to prove. So I hope that this guy that has filed this lawsuit against TD Jakes has sufficient evidence to back up his claim, or otherwise he's going to be in big trouble. Now, I might point out that this ex-minister was himself, or I should say is, a sex offender, okay? He has been charged, and I don't know how long ago this was, but he himself has been charged with sexual assault against young teenage boys, okay? He served time in prison, all right? Like I said, I don't know exactly what the dates were on this. I don't know how long ago this occurred, but the guys come out of the woodworks now to file a charge against Reverend TD Jakes. We will see what happens in the future, but I don't report on rumors, and I've told you all that before. I don't report on anything that I cannot substantiate, but I bring you this report for two reasons. Number one, when TD Jakes files a lawsuit, that lawsuit becomes public information. So I can confirm that. And that's why I bring it to you. If this was merely hearsay, a rumor going through the rumor mill, I would not report on this. But he has filed a lawsuit, and it was filed today. That lawsuit has been made public. So I can stand by what I report here. Okay? Now, the other thing is I want to tell you, I don't sugarcoat. I've told you all that before. I don't sugarcoat. There have been many allegations, and I'm going to call them that, against TD Jakes for attending Diddy's parties, being involved in his parties. But I cannot substantiate that, so I've not reported on that. And I won't report on that until some concrete evidence is in my possession. And right now I don't have it. But in this particular case, I have all the evidence I need. I have a public lawsuit that was filed today, and I feel totally at ease and totally comfortable in bringing you this information. Okay? And that's the way I handle things. So I don't report on rumors. As a matter of fact, there was a big rumor last week that I was really tempted. But I did not report on it because I didn't have sufficient evidence to substantiate or justify my reporting. I'm still watching the story. It's a doozy, okay? But I'm not going to report on it as long as it's a rumor. And that's what it is as far as I'm concerned to this point. So that's what I have for y'all today. And once again, I want to tell you, Thanksgiving is tomorrow. I want you all to relax, enjoy Thanksgiving, whether you do it alone or with your family, that's up to you. But I will say one thing. If you do it with your family, don't talk about politics, especially if you are a Trump supporter, okay? Don't cause any friction there, all right? Okay, that's my show, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching, and again, have a happy Thanksgiving. See you next time.